Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we have the pleasure to have in our country a very prominent and distinguished Professor Wook Chae, who is at the same time a president of Korea Institute for International Economic Policy. He's here to convene one of international forum called the 7th East Asia Forum, Economic Integration and the Role of Development Cooperation. And I'm just happy that he agreed on short notice to come to our show. So on that note, the theme we'll be discussing today will be focused more on the larger regional development in the context of a global current financial crisis, and where eventually do Cambodia fit, and how do we learn the lesson from the region as well. So on that note, Doctor, let me welcome you to the show.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Chae, before we start, perhaps I'd like to give you the floor to say a few minutes about yourself and the institute that you represent.
Oh, yeah, yes. Okay. Now I'm working as the president of KIAP, Korea Institute for International Economic Policy, which is one of government think tanks.
Yes.
The KIAP is specialized in the international the economic policies.
Yes.
So we deal with the various trade policies as well as international financial policies like FTA issues, WTO, multilateral trade issues,
yes,
and also global financial issues. And we are the only the research institute which is specialized in the regional studies.
Yes.
So we have the South and Asian the team, and also Africa team, US team, China team, and so forth. I joined the institute in 1990,
okay,
when it is just established.
Exactly.
That was right after I got my PhD degree from the United States,
yes,
the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor.
Yes.
And then I am the first president of KIAP who promoted from inside. Yeah.
Yes.
And this is my second term.
Oh,
yes.
Well, congratulations, Doctor.
Thank you very much. It just started last May, I mean the second term.
Yes.
And so I was involved in many international economic policies of the Korean government.
Yes.
So I worked for the many ministries, and
yes,
also in the Blue House, which
yes,
is the presidential house,
okay,
to make up the various policies regarding the free trade, yes, or the foreign aid,
yes, yes,
and so forth.
Yes, yes. Interesting. Perhaps you can share with us a bit, why you're here for this trip. I don't think it's your first time.
No, in fact, it is my fourth visit to Phnom Penh.
Okay, fourth
That
time.
is, I have been here 3 times,
yes,
before. That was to do a kind of project with the Cambodian Ministry of Commerce.
Yes, yes.
For capacity building project.
Okay.
That is, since Korea has big experience in trade policies,
yes, yes,
we were trying to advise,
yes,
the Cambodian Ministry of Commerce for,
yes,
the various trade policies, how, yes, to liberalize, how to react to the international shocks, and so
yes,
forth.
Yes, yes, I see, I see. And for this trip?
Yeah, this trip, well, in fact, the KIAP has been hosting this East Asia Forum,
yes,
Institute Forum.
Yes.
We were aiming at, gathering the intellectuals, yes, or the academicians, yes, from the many countries in the region,
yes, to
discuss about the economic the integration, yes, issue. And then now it is the 7th the EAI Forum.
Yes, yes.
And in last 6 conferences, the heads of 12 the institutes from East Asian region
Yes.
they participated,
Yes.
very actively participated. And we, this forum mainly focus on four
Yes.
the major cooperation areas,
Okay,
like
okay.
trade, the finance, the investment, and
Yes.
cooperation. Now this is seventh in this forum, seventh forum. We are more focused on the development cooperation.
I
Yes.
see, I see. Interesting. Well, you mentioned about the region. I think, of course, we are blessed that the region, our region, you know, East Asia, Southeast Asia, we're in a dynamic region.
Yeah.
But for me, the recent event in Greece, in New York, it's not pretty. It's a little bit gloomy. I wouldn't say, you know, that it's devastating. But how do you see this global situation, you know, play out in the context of our region?
Yeah. In the past, most of wrongdoings, I mean, of economic policies, just came out of the underdeveloped countries or the developing countries.
Yes.
But nowadays, most of economic problems, are coming from the advanced nations, like fiscal policies, wrong fiscal policies, and those countries mostly face a very high unemployment, and high inflation,
Yes.
and also the big budget deficit, the high sovereign debt problems, and so forth. But in contrast, the developing countries, in particular the countries in the East Asia region,
Yes.
are doing quite well because they are just concentrated on the development,
Yes.
and for development they need a kind of cooperation, international
Yes.
cooperation.
Yes.
The advanced nations tend to think of their own policies,
Yes.
but in the East Asian region, the most countries are focused on international cooperation. Otherwise,
Yes,
they
yes.
cannot do right policies or the effective policies for their own.
Yes.
So that's why the East Asian countries are doing quite well despite such kind of global economic problems.
Yes, yeah. So in that context, the development cooperation play a big role in terms of sort of like helping,
Yeah.
you know, to have a common vision
Yes.
toward the development of the region. Do you see an impact of if we see now the European, financial bailout to Greece? For sure, there'll be some dramatic impact on their economy, as you say, high unemployment and everything.
Yeah.
So less purchasing power. But how, as mostly major exporter of goods to the
Right.
developed country, do you see impact?
Of course, I think if the economy doesn't work well in advanced nations, we will be greatly affected because we export much to the European countries and the United States. But the problem is that we have been too much dependent on the trade with those countries.
Yes, yes,
That's
indeed.
why the economic integration
Yes.
is very important. I
Yes.
mean, in this region,
Yes.
because rather than just depending on those countries, we try to promote the consumption,
Yes.
or the production,
Yes.
the regionally
Yes.
by getting rid of many trade barriers or investment barriers. Then we will have a very, very strong and very sound the economic structure. But as of now, even though we are not as serious as the advanced nations, we will be affected if we just
Yes.
stick to the current situation. So we had better aim for better cooperation mechanism or the economic integration process.
Korea is a strategic dialogue partner with ASEAN.
Yeah, right.
ASEAN, through its ups and downs, it's moving ahead for the ASEAN Economic Community in 15 next year, Cambodia will be honored by having this rotational chair.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, so next year, Cambodia will be very busy hosting many summit, event, ministerial conference. How, from the perspective of Korea, how do you see ASEAN, in this context, the ASEAN centrality, your relation, with ASEAN, the ASEAN +3, ASEAN +6?
Well, as you know, ASEAN has already concluded with FTAs with 3 major countries in the region. That is ASEAN plus, ASEAN China FTA, ASEAN the Japan FTA, and the ASEAN Korea FTA. So ASEAN is in fact at the center of the economic integration in the region.
Yes.
But the problem is that as many people indicate, the ASEAN has not played a very good leadership in that part. But I think what ASEAN can do is to promote the economic dialogue among 3 countries like Korea, China, Japan.
Yes.
Then probably ASEAN plus 3 ASEAN plus ones will take effects.
Yes.
So ASEAN plus 3 has a long history, in fact. Since the late 1990s. But ASEAN plus 6, well, that just recently developed, in fact. So, of course...
What's the difference between the 3 and the 6?
ASEAN plus 3, it means, as you know, ASEAN plus Korea, Japan, the China. ASEAN plus 6, in addition to that, the India, Australia, New Zealand.
Yes.
That means, if we have larger members, then the effect of effective integration will be greater. That's good merit of ASEAN plus 6. But the problem is that the interest may be very much diverse. And India, Australia, China, Japan may try to influence the integration process. But ASEAN plus 3, since we have long history and we accumulated much resources and information and the research on that, so we have a common modality of the thinking and the economic integration in the process. So I think the merits and demerits for both the approaches, but as of now, to complete achieve the economic integration in the short term or in the mid term, I think ASEAN plus 3 will have the competitive advantage, I think.
I mean, I cannot help but you mentioned all these number 3, 6, and the issue of rural origin, the issue of the what you call the noodle. What do you call the noodle bowl? Noodle or something,
spaghetti bowl.
It's this is where I see, of course, Cambodia, like Laos, like other less advanced country. This is where I see the role of development cooperation so crucial in terms of bringing technical assistance, like what you did a few years ago with the Ministry of Commerce, help Cambodia build a capacity. As a country, it's important that we narrow our development gap, right, slowly. And what is your view on development cooperation in this case to help bring, less advanced country like Cambodia to be benefiting more from this global or regional integration?
As far as I know, Dr. Siphana, you contributed a lot to the trade policies of Cambodia. That is, I think the trade liberalization or the removing the various the regulatory measures must be very, very important for the country's the future development. And for Cambodia, I think it's quite a liberalized the country. That's why Cambodia is doing very well, and that's the way to invite more capital from the foreign countries like advanced nations, not only the United States or Europe, but also from Japan and Korea and China.
The South.
Yes, and that's what the Cambodia is doing. So I'm quite sure that Cambodian economy is very much promising in the future because it is quite liberalized, and also the Korea, Japan, China have more intention to invest in Cambodia, and actually they are doing.
Yes, yes. This is great because for me, you know, I see great potential for this country. Of course, you know, development is not an easy process. Cambodia have gone through a very painful 3 decades ago, complete destruction of our social, financial, economic fabrics. Rebuilding a country is not easy, but after 20 years since the Paris Peace process, and you yourself have been to Cambodia many times, you sort of see the progress, the growth. But I would say that next year is important for Cambodia as chair of ASEAN because it's a moment in time, in historical time, where we could say that, look, we're not anymore post-crisis. We are developing 6, 7, 8, 9% growth. You know, after so many years, you know, the economy is booming. Yes, the uncertainty of the global financial crisis does have the effect. But you see around town, it's a lot of bubbling effect. But looking forward, you know, what would you, as an outsider, as an outsider, as a very neutral view, what is your view on how Cambodia can skip the learning curve and become an active player in the regional arena?
Yes, you know, when the last visit I made was 5 years ago. I mean, to Phnom Penh. And at the time, I think the Phnom Penh was not that, you know, the booming, in fact. It just started to boom, but now I can see many, you know, the changes, the much more buildings and much better, you know, streets, even though still, you know, it's poor. But I think that is, you need to invite more, you know, I mean, good capital from the foreign
capital
countries.
Flow,
capital flow. I think not just from only from the United States or European countries. They have their own problem. But now we have, you know, CMIM. You know what CMI, Chiang Mai Initiative.
Indeed.
There's such a thing. So such kind of cooperation, such kind of mechanism will help the Cambodia to stably develop or improve their systems or the economy. So I think the Cambodia, even though you just have said you know, there is a kind of bubble. Of course, I can see some kind of bubble. But I think the now since the global economy is in a kind of a recession, Cambodia will be affected. If you are cautious of such kind of a bubble destruction, then I think the bubble will naturally disappear. So you need, you know, the very sound and the healthy capital from the foreign countries. You need anyway the foreign capital because you don't have your own capital as of now. So I think you keep on going just like as you do, but just watch out the kind of, you know, the external shock which may affect the
imbalance
economy. Exactly.
I mean, Dr. Chae, since you're from Korea, I have to touch a bit on Cambodia-Korea bilateral relation. I must say that Korea has, for the last several years, has been a very forceful contributor to Cambodia capacity building. Many factories that you invest in Cambodia have good capacity building component, which I think is important, you know, rather than, because you have some investment who just come and exploit the natural, you know, advantage, right? But then, you know, there's not much left for the country. But I see the fact that when a Korean company, when you look at for example, when they come, they have factory to show, to actually build cable. These are real industrial, mechanized skill that without a factory, our labor would never know how to do it. You see, so I'm a bit critical of multilateral institution in the sense that they provide a lot of soft skill, but when the country move into a sort of like a transition to or at least light industrialized economy, a small industrialized economy, you need access to physical, technical, mechanical, sort of like IT skill that only physical factory, physical lab, physical construction you can feel, right? So this is something that I'm quite, I sort of distinguish a bit the Korean model of capacity building versus other actor.
Oh, you made a very, very important point. Yes, so far many foreign aids were made in building the bridges or the buildings or the highways or something like that. That's very important. But more important in the long term is kind of a software rather than just hardware.
Yes.
That is, I mean, the people need to learn a kind of skills.
Yes.
And they will have to have right the mind, spiritual mind, and the philosophy.
Yes.
And then that's what Korea is trying to do. In the last year, we held a kind of the G20 summit in Seoul.
Yes, in Seoul, yes.
And then at that time we just put the development agenda as one of the most important agenda among the G20 summit issue agenda. And then what we tried to do was not just giving fish to the developing countries, but we teach the developing countries how to catch fish. So that is the basic concept and the basic philosophy. And now we are making kind of action plan for such kind of the aid programs as of now. It's as a result of the G20 summit last year, and we will anyway focus our the development policy or the aid policy on that kind of sense.
Doctor, I must say when I read the Seoul Summit Declaration, the G20 Summit Declaration, I was quite touched the fact that your president had the vision, because when you go to G20, you talk big stuff about with big country, big economy, but your president have this vision to say, look, we have to bring along smaller, not so big economy along, and narrowing the development gap is so crucial. In fact, in my paper contribution to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to prepare for next year, chairmanship, I mentioned this sort of initiative of the Korean president on this narrowing development gap, because next year as chair, Cambodia, our Prime Minister, Sen Hun Sen, will have the opportunity to be invited to the G20 in Mexico, and this is something that we want to get the message across that yes, the G20 is important, but the G20 cannot go alone without bringing the new source of growth, which is the lesser, the smaller economy. So on that note, Dr. Chae, I think we are coming to the end of our program, but your last word, please. What do you want people to remember in Cambodia?
Yes, I really hope the Cambodia and the Korean people get along very well, because they have very many similarities in terms of passion for education. And the Cambodian people are very, very diligent. It's really hard to find diligent people in the south, such hot area like Southeast Asia. But Cambodian people, what I found was really diligent and have passion for their education, and they know how to work. What I'm saying, the software, they need the importance of software, not just the hardware. So I hope you just keep on doing liberalization policies and also reforming your society toward this more open society and a more transparent society. Then I think considering the Cambodian potential, Cambodia should be very, very promising country in the very near future. Yeah.
Dr. Chae, thank you so much for your wisdom, and I want to say on behalf of the audience and the station, thank you for taking this time to come and have this little dialogue on the prospect, of the world, of the region, and also some insight into Cambodia's future. So on that note, let me say thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're coming to the end. As sometimes I really hate to have these 30 minutes, because by the time we get to interesting discussion, it's 27 minutes already. But I hope you have the opportunity to hear the perspective a bit on what's happening around the world, its potential impact on our economy, but foremost on how Cambodia as a nation, as a people, as a government, as a country, how do we learn from the experience of other countries in the world, and how can we tap their development experience. And Korea is such a country that shares similar circumstances like Cambodia, devastating war, Second World War, so many things that I can see a lot of similarity with Cambodia. And yet, I was very impressed when you visit Seoul, you see an advanced economy, and they are a member of OECD, and if they can do it, we can do it too. And this is probably the message that I like the audience to keep, that it's a can-do attitude, So on that note, I want to say thank you for watching our program, and look forward to see you next week. Good night.